Welcome back, and we must talk about some of these market movers. Look at Apple. Apple is one of the stalwarts of the Nasdaq, but it's not just of the Nasdaq, it's also the stalwart of the S&P 500. And everybody wants to know, when is these indexes going to pull back a little bit? Well, guys, if I look at, and of course, ladies, if I look at this massive trend. It's a beautiful uptrend, little pullbacks here and there, but every time that it comes back to the support line, there's always a buyer buying the company up, but it heads up higher. Reason simple is that everybody believes that artificial intelligence is the new thing around, and everybody must get in that, and they're so scared of missing out, or what they say, FOMO, fear of missing out. And that's why they jump into the share, because they believe super profits is on its way. Well, if I look at the chart, apart from that we see these higher lows, we are slowly but surely working on a rising wedge. Now, a rising wedge for me is, of course, a negative formation. Now, if you look at this rising wedge, momentum still up, nothing wrong. That means that the Nasdaq will stay strong. At the moment, we know that only 7 shares assist the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 of heading higher. That's not a good point, because the S&P 500 is a constituent of 500 shares. But if we look at this one, the first sign of weakness will be below 176.40, $176.40. And only below that, we can see that Apple can maybe retrace. But the reason why I'm saying that it can pull back is I just want to show you the stochastic. And the moment you see this, you will know why I am nervous on the chart. Because look at this. I just want to do the setting. I always use 1433. I know some people use other settings, but I use 1433. There you are. Look at this. It remains in the overbought zone, but what we can see is we see a divergence here. Now, this divergence tells you, although the share is going up, the stochastic are starting to show some signs of weakness, and it's telling you, listen guys, we can maybe head lower, but only below that line that I gave you there. Then we will probably see a breakdown. And what's our target? Our first target will be $168.30, because that is the target of this rising wedge formation. So I think if you want to buy, you may be a little bit too late to buy, unless you want to chase momentum. Let's have a look at the opposite. There is Richemont. That is the local company, the biggest one in the South African index. And Richemont is telling you that it is carrying the market. But what do we see here? And I think we can maybe see a little bit of a pullback in this market. Reason being, if Richemont starts to lose momentum, we can easily see that the index will also struggle. Why? Because what we see is that Richemont is almost 26% of our index. Now, just have a look here. There is that beautiful support line. It shows you that the momentum is still clearly to the upside. Let's have a look here. And we're on that line, and that line also represents the 50-day moving average. And that sits at 306,751, 3,670 Rand. So it just shows you that this share can easily pull back a little bit. But look at your stochastic. It's quite nice and low. It tells you it will probably give you a bounce. So if you want to lock in some profit, you'll probably get a little bit of a chance to offload at a higher level. And we will only get positive if the share gets above 3,332 Rand. Below that, unfortunately, we will remain negative on the company, because we're testing this line, we're testing this 50-day moving average, and below this 50-day moving average, we can see some loss of momentum. And boy, oh boy, if I just change this chart to candles, then you will see the following. If you look at these candles, look at that. There's quite a few of gaps. I just want to show you. There is a gap there. There's one there. And Right down here, there's another one. I can find it for you quickly. There's another one. I don't even want to think if it goes down to 1,954. That's almost 1,000 rand from here. But for me, the first gap will be this little tiny one, and that will be between 2,901 and 2,907. You guys can maybe just get the proper levels there because I'm just using it because our time is a little bit limited. So for me, Richemont, I'm a little bit nervous. I think it can maybe give us some selling, and we will only get positive about Richemont if it can head above 3,430 again. Until then, we believe it is a little bit overcooked. Let's have a look at another market favorite, Reinet. Now, as you all know, we like the company, but what do we see? There's also a 50-day moving average there. It's tested it, it bounced off there. And if you look at the long-term chart, look at this. The momentum is beautifully to the top. There you are. You can draw that line in there. And where will we get nervous? We will only get nervous when this 50-day moving average at 395 Rand and 45 cents turns into a resistance. Above that, the momentum is still solidly to the top. And on the other hand, only when this support line breaks, then we know that the trend wants to swing to the downside. And that will only be below 3,881 Rand, 381 Rand and 40 cents. And only below that, we can see some weakness to creep in. Well, let's have a look at its counterpart, BTI, British American Tobacco. Good solid rand edge, and everybody loves this chart, and it is under immense pressure. And what I don't like about the chart is that it's making lower highs, but we all know that this company pays a hefty dividend, I think of almost 8%. And if I look at the selling and if I look at the stochastic, it's nicely oversold. Maybe there's a little bit of an opportunity here, but let's get it. And we just want to draw in that resistance line quickly for you guys and ladies, of course. And I am sure that we're working on a falling wedge here. There you are, but it's still a little bit early days. For me, the first sign of strength will only be above 629 Rand and 80 cents. If you do buy it there, make use of a stop loss of 613 Rand 40. But there's plenty upward targets, 636 Rand, 642 Rand. There's the 50-day moving average, 665 Rand. And then, of course, it can go all the way up to 695 Rand. So for me, personally, if I look at some of these shares now, it tells me that Apple is a little bit overcooked. Richemont is a little bit overcooked. Reinet is maybe testing a support line that's quite important. But for me, the opportunity maybe lies in a share like British American Tobacco. And let's finish off the show with Harmony. I know it's an old-time favorite of all the gold bulls. But if I look at this, guys, it looks like that this share is there. Is the place that we called it. Can you believe it? We called it many, many moons ago at 45 Rand. But now we see lower highs all the way. And let's just use the line chart, and then you will immediately see what I'm showing here. Lower highs, not positive. We're testing a very important line here. There's the line. And you see, all comes down now to the 50-day moving average. It just shows you that the 50-day moving average played a beautiful role on the way up, and that can be a signal to the downside as well. It's not yet 100% oversold, but for me, next sign of weakness will be below 87 Rand and 40 cents, and below that we can maybe see down to 83.67, 80 Rand and 28 cents. And by the way, there's a little gap here. Let's have a look at that gap. And that makes me a little bit worried. This gap can maybe close in some time to come. And that is sitting between 58 Rand 30 cents. And there you are, 56 Rand and 16 cents. Well, let's have a look. It looks like some gold shares are starting to run tired. Be careful because they are cyclical. If they run up in a huge and a fast pace. But if they lose momentum, it can be quickly and also nasty if you don't have take your profits before. Well, thank you for visiting our website, www.fransdeklerk.com, and thank you for watching the show, and we will chat again.